There is a classic expression that you might have heard: two Jews, three opinions. But it's not just a joke, it's almost a spiritual truth. Judaism has never been afraid of disagreement. In fact, the Jewish people have thrived on sacred argument. Page after page of the Talmud, thousands of responsa, and generations of midrash are filled with voices in dispute. But the question is, what makes an argument holy, and what makes it destructive? The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot gives us the lens to understand this. It teaches, any disagreement that is for the sake of heaven will have a lasting outcome, but one that is not for the sake of heaven will not endure. What is a dispute for the sake of heaven? The dispute between Hillel and Shammai. And what is one not for the sake of heaven? The dispute of Korach and all his followers. Korach, who gives name to the Torah portion, was a cousin of Moses and Aaron. He led a rebellion against their leadership. He gathers a group of 250 prominent Israelites and challenges Moses, saying, "You have gone too far, for all the community are holy, every one of them, and God is in their midst. Why then do you raise yourselves above God's congregation?" At first glance, Korach sounds like a champion of equality. Isn't he quoting something true? Didn't God say just a few chapters before, "You shall be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation"? Why should Moses and Aaron be above the people? But as the commentators explain, there is something under the surface. There's something rotten in Denmark. Rashi, citing the Midrash, emphasizes the word Vayikach Korach. Korach took. What did he take? He took himself apart. He took people with him. He created division. He used lofty language about holiness, but his motivation was not spiritual. It was personal ambition. So why do Hillel and Shammai then represent sacred argument while Korach does not? The Talmud tells us that even though Hillel and Shammai had deep disagreements over law and theology, they still respected each other. Their students intermarried. They cited each other's opinions. In the Talmud, it even says that the law followed Hillel not because he was right, but because he was humble and would teach both sides of the argument, even giving Shammai's views first. The difference is not just what they argued, it's how and why. Hillel and Shammai argued for the sake of truth. Korach argued for the sake of ego. Hillel wanted to build. Korach wanted to separate or destroy. The Sfat Emet, the Hasidic master Rabbi Yehuda Leib of Ger, makes a powerful observation. Disagreement is not inherently bad. In fact, multiple opinions reveal the depth of Torah. There are Shivim Panim La Torah, 70 faces of the Torah, and no one person can hold them all. But, he says, when an argument arises from a sincere desire to serve God, it opens gates of wisdom. When it arises from jealousy or pride, it leads to collapse. The measure of a holy argument is not how passionately it is argued, but what it builds in the world. Another Hasidic teacher, the Mehashiloach, Rabbi Mordechai Yosef of Ishbika, takes it even further. He suggests that even people like Korach may have a role in the divine plan. But we are judged not just by our place in history, but by our intention. If our disagreement is rooted in service to self, it would crumble. If it is rooted in service to heaven, it will endure, even if we are ultimately wrong. And here is the hard truth. Today, we are living through a Korach-like culture of argument. Not in content, but in tone and intent. Just look at the state of politics. In this country and beyond, civil discourse is on the decline. We don't listen to understand. We wait for the other person to stop talking so we can yell louder. Social media has trained us to shout our views and shame our opponents. Televised discussions and debates have turned into performances. Truth is less important than being right. Dialogue is replaced now by dogma. In our homes, in our workplaces, even in our communities, we are feeling the pull of a world where it's easier to divide than to seek understanding. This is not just bad manners. It's spiritual corruption. It is the very opposite of machloket leshem shamayim, an argument for the sake of heaven. It is Korach dressed up in modern garbs. Self-interest disguised as principles. And if we don't name it, we will fall for it. In our polarized world, the lessons of Korach and Hillel and Shammai are more urgent than ever before. We see every day how arguments over politics, identity, or religions can tear families, societies, and communities apart. Often, it's not just about the content of the disagreement. It's about the tone and the respect. Are we listening to one another? Are we trying to understand or just trying to win? Rabbi Jonathan Sachs said, "What makes a conflict holy is not the certainty that I am right, but the humility to learn from those who disagree." That is the secret of sacred argument, not erasing difference, but dignifying it. Let's be honest, every community has moments of disagreement. That's natural. We come from different backgrounds, generations, experiences, and visions for the future. But we must remember, disagreement is only destructive if we let it become personal. If we argue with humility, with curiosity, and compassion, we can actually become stronger through it. Let us reclaim the Jewish art of disagreement, not as a threat to community, but as a way of deepening it. Let us honor the many voices in our tradition and in our lives, not with cynicism, but with sincerity. Because the ultimate test of any argument is not how loud it is or how clever it is. It is whether it brings us closer to one another and closer to God. May we, unlike Korach, learn to argue not for power but for purpose, not to divide but to understand. May our disagreements, like those of Hillel and Shammai, be for the sake of heaven, and may they endure as part of the eternal unfolding of Torah.